In Mario's 35 years being with the gaming industry and Nintendo, he has been in a lot of platformers, since those are essentially where he has his most iconic appearances in. Today, I want to look at the more modern appearance that he is in, and most definitely his most iconic. It dates back to the summer of 2006. Hello, my name is Mario 2000, and I will be presenting the development history of New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. In this very early game, we see some very major differences since this is very early in the development process, since this seems to be brought from Super Mario 64 DS. I'm going to show you some of the screenshots now. These pictures I am showing have things that ultimately go unused. Like, for example, the movements that Mario does during the trailer, they seem very stiff and very slow compared to the final game, and it looks very cartoony. And I believe this was very early in development, and to some result they didn't want to keep these things when they went further and further in. After that E3 2004 demo trailer, Nintendo actually kept quiet about this information for about a year, for about the next year. Well, where we see that the game gets quite a makeover, looking like the final. In this stage of the development process, there are many differences that look quite close to the final game, that resemble the final game in general. We didn't see that until the next year in 2005, when they gave us a trailer of the game. We start to see the differences in the trailer when they use telesensor levels that generally went unused. Also, there was going to be a multiplayer mode, most likely planned, that it could be seen in the trailer. The multiplayer mode was likely planned, but they didn't go about it in the end, and they decided to mostly stick with Mario vs. Luigi for the final release. Another thing I noticed that when I took a look at the trailers is that most items that were initially planned to be in the game in the beginning ultimately did not make it in the final game. For example, in the trailer that are used in the trailer, these were most likely checkpoints that were to indicate the halfway point of a level. So the red and green ring most likely was to be planned for multiplayer mode if each one of them, if one of the two or each one of the two touched the ring. So these are mostly planned to be in the final game, but ultimately it did not make it in the final game. This part has got to be the most astounding considering what was left over and what was planned to be in the final game and what New Super Mario Bros. DS would have looked like if these things were not left unused and were officially used in the game in the first place. And see what could be different from the game that we know now and what would it look like if these things were put into implementation. There were many things that are still in the game's files that many people have looked at, and I think it is the most interesting to look at what ideas Nintendo had in mind during the development process of this game, since all of these ideas could be easily implemented into the game with few modifications. And I believe it would be a great idea if it would be that way. And see what it would look like in that state and what ideas Nintendo would have gotten if they had not scrapped the beta process of New Super Mario Bros. DS. Many of the things that were left in the game's files were either left unused or not or just a little cameo in the game, um but there are some things that I really find interesting that that are good to look at when looking at New Super Mario Brothers DS and looking at what ultimately could have been the game initially. So we are going to take a look. So what was found in the game's files was an early world selection screen. This world selection screen was supposed to be kind of sort of like you move from level to level, like you move from world to world, in which like what New Super Mario Brothers we did, you had to get this the implementation in New Super Mario Brothers Wii was that you pull up a big circle with the world, and whatever world you picked from each of the worlds that it goes around and around, you get to pick that world, which is one world, and you get to go there. That is how the early world select screen. That is how the early world select screen was. Also, that what was found in the game files was that World 4, for example, was meant to be a sort of volcano world, and World 6 a machine world. In the end, World 4 was a poisonous forest, and World 6 was a mountain slash like like uh like like a mountain world of sorts. So those two worlds were meant to be different worlds of itself. And the file for World 4 was called Ancient. And that is what we know so far about the two worlds that were supposed to be planned for World 4 and World 6. Now there are many 3D models of enemies that were left unused. The Koopa, which was left unused, the 3D models of the enemies, they were ultimately left unused. Don't know why, but yeah. And I think they were incomplete by this time. And there in the game's files, there was some remnants of icons that were supposed to be used in the game, but essentially they were left unused as well, along with the 3D models and the world select screen and the World 4 and World 6 worlds in general, and plus with many tile sets for World 4 and World 6, as they were meant to be a volcano world and a machine world. Plus, there are large textures with numbers ranging from 0 to 1. Probably this was used for testing in that credits animation that you see in the final game, where you see all the levels that you've done so far and the levels that you completed so far in the game. So that was probably used for testing animations in the credits scene after the end of the game, probably. Not too sure, but I don't know any of these things, so don't quote me on that. Well, everyone, that is my take on the development history and process of New Super Mario Bros. DS. If you have enjoyed this video so far, then I suggest that you comment, like, and subscribe, as those three things will help support the channel, and that you want to stick around for more. Also, if you want to see any more videos on this, then you can click up on the cards on the top of the video. Even go to my channel page and look on the 100 plus videos that I got, and you'll be able to see more. Anyways, this video was kind of hard to make, and I know so, because development history videos are not easy to do, and I know that this video was gonna take long because it took me at least about like a week or 2 weeks to get it done. I'm not even joking. So this really did take like a week or 2 weeks to complete, since the days that I did this video were kind of like were like days where I wanted to rest and then get back to the video, and then rest and then get back to the video. So it took quite a long time. Even though I did kind of procrastinate a little bit, this video was poured out into my heart and soul. So if you guys like this video, and if you like most of my work, then don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe again. All the links to the resources of the video that I do on here will be in the description below. All the resources that I use for the video will be in the description below, and also the there will be like I forgot what I was going to say. Um okay. You know what? I'll just end it here off anyways. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.